Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we are going to be looking at Nvidia
Oh, yeah.
and sort of their place among what some people have been calling the Magnificent Seven. So those are like the biggest of the big tech giants.
Right.
And we're kind of looking at an article from Yahoo Finance
Okay.
that is talking about how Nvidia is kind of leading this pack of companies.
Interesting.
Even though there was a little bit of a dip for these companies at the end of last year,
Yeah.
these companies still did really, really well. And Nvidia actually ended the year up over 44%.
Wow.
So we're going to take a look at what makes this company so hot and, maybe what their performance can tell us about the future of tech.
Yeah. It's really fascinating because it shows how one single company can really have a huge impact on the market,
Right. And not only be impacted by the fluctuations, but actually maybe even drive some of those fluctuations.
Exactly.
So let's start by kind of outlining exactly what happened to these companies in the last little bit of 2024.
Oh.
So we're talking about Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Tesla,
Right.
and of course, Nvidia.
Yeah. So it seems like, Wall Street maybe decided to skip the Santa Claus rally this year. The one where the stock prices usually go up between Christmas and New Year's.
Right.
Well, most of these companies actually saw their stock prices drop.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla, for example, had a pretty big drop, almost 13%.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's got to hurt.
Yeah. And then Amazon and Microsoft weren't far behind, over 4% each.
Uh-huh.
And then Meta and Google both dipped just under 4%.
Okay.
And then Apple slid down about 3%.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it wasn't a great time for a lot of these companies.
So it sounds like a bit of a rough patch for these big companies. But didn't we say that Nvidia was actually doing pretty well?
Yeah, well, that's what's so interesting is that while all of these other companies were having trouble, Nvidia started 2025 pretty strong.
Okay.
Yeah, like a 3% share increase on January 2nd.
Wow.
And it looks like Wall Street is expecting them to keep doing well. Some analysts are saying that their share price could go all the way up to $173 within the year.
So up from $138.
That's right.
Okay, now I got to ask, what's making people so optimistic?
Yeah.
Is it all hype, or is there something more to it?
I think it's definitely more than just hype. There's some actual analysis backing this up.
Okay.
An analyst from Bank of America, Vivek Arya, he had some interesting things to say about the sell-off that happened at the end of 2024.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so first he pointed out that there's been a shift away from semiconductors towards software.
Uh-huh.
And that makes sense because software companies, they aren't as affected by things like the U.S.-China trade tensions.
Right. So maybe that explains why they did better during that time when there was all this uncertainty.
Exactly.
So it sounds like it's not just about Nvidia specifically, but also about the sector that they're in.
Yeah, for sure.
But is there something else going on with Nvidia that's contributing to all of this?
Well, Arya also mentioned that Nvidia has been having some growing pains as they transition to these new AI chips they're calling Blackwell.
Okay.
And apparently there have been some delays with shipments, which might have caused that dip at the end of last year.
So a little bit of a hiccup in the supply chain.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, but it doesn't sound like he's too worried about it.
No, it seems like he thinks it's a pretty short-term issue.
Okay.
And that brings us to maybe like the most interesting point about all this.
Okay, what's that?
Well, it's about NVIDIA's value.
All right, tell me more. I'm all ears.
Well, Arya argues that NVIDIA is actually undervalued.
Undervalued, but how's it possible? I mean, their stock is already doing so well.
Well, you got to look at the metrics.
Okay.
So NVIDIA is currently trading at less than 1 times its estimated 2025 earnings growth.
Okay.
But all those other companies, those peers, are trading at twice their estimated growth.
So even though Nvidia is expected to grow faster, people are paying less for their shares.
Yeah, that's right.
So it sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
It might be.
But what's driving that growth potential in the first place?
I think you can probably guess.
Is it AI?
It is AI. AI. It seems like it's all anyone can talk about.
Yeah, I know, right? It's everywhere. But how exactly is AI helping Nvidia grow like this?
Well, investors are really excited about AI right now, so they're putting their money into any company that seems like it's involved with AI.
Uh-huh.
And NVIDIA is in a great position to take advantage of that.
Right.
Their AI chips are like the brains behind a lot of this AI stuff.
So the demand is really high.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably just going to keep getting higher.
So it's kind of like back during the gold rush.
Oh, yeah.
Where the people who really made money were the ones selling the shovels and pickaxes.
Exactly. NVIDIA is selling the tools that everyone needs for this whole AI revolution.
And I guess the numbers really show that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Magnificent Seven altogether saw 33% earnings growth in 2024. Wow. And that was mostly thanks to AI.
Okay, so that's huge compared to the rest of the S&P 500.
Right. They only grew by 4.2%.
Okay, so that is a big difference. But let's think about this for a second.
Okay.
Is all this excitement about AI really going to last? I mean, could this be like a bubble that's about to pop?
Well, it's a good question, and there are definitely some people who aren't so sure about all this fast growth.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that most experts are still feeling pretty good about AI in the long run. It's not just some fad. It's a really big change in how we use technology in almost every industry.
So we're not just talking about, chatbots and self-driving cars.
No, not at all.
But AI could change things like healthcare finance, even how we manufacture things.
Exactly. And Nvidia's right there leading the way, providing the hardware that all these AI systems need.
Okay, so Nvidia's riding this AI wave. They seem to be undervalued, and the analysts are saying they're going to do great. But what about the rest of the Magnificent Seven? How are they doing in 2025?
Well, some of them started to recover on January 2nd.
Okay.
Meta, Alphabet, and Amazon, their stock prices start to go back up, so maybe that dip in December was just temporary.
Interesting.
But Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla, they kept going down. So maybe they have some problems that are specific to their companies.
Okay, so it sounds like the Magnificent Seven aren't all moving in the same direction anymore.
That's right. Some are doing better than others.
And I guess that shows how important it is to look at each of these companies individually, even though we tend to lump them together.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot here. Stock prices, market trends, AI, and how Nvidia fits into all of this.
Yeah.
But let's think about our listener for a minute.
Okay.
You've been listening to all this. What does it all mean for you? What should you take away from this?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, we can talk about all this stuff about, stock prices and what the market's doing.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean for people? Like, how can they use this information?
Right, exactly. It's all about, giving our listeners the information they need so they can understand what's going on in the tech industry.
It's a big deal. I mean, think about how much technology you use every day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like your phone, how you buy stuff, how you work, even how you talk to your family.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. And if you understand what's happening in the tech world, you can make better decisions in your own life.
So let's break this down for our listener.
Okay.
What are the big things they should be paying attention to as we move into, 2025 and beyond?
Okay. Well, the first thing is pretty obvious. AI is a really big deal.
Yeah, it's not going away.
No, it's not. It's driving a lot of growth and changing a lot of industries.
Huh?
So companies that are using AI, well, like Nvidia, they're probably going to keep doing well.
Okay, so pay attention to AI.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, the second thing is that Nvidia is a company to watch.
Okay.
They're really leading the way with this whole AI revolution.
So they're kind of like a bellwether for the whole sector?
Yeah, exactly. If Nvidia is doing well, it probably means that AI is doing well too.
So what you're saying is if Nvidia's stock is up, it might be a good time to invest in other AI companies.
Well, I'm not giving financial advice, but, it's something to think about.
Yeah.
But here's the most important thing, and this is true for any investment or decision you make. Don't just follow the hype.
Yeah, do your research.
Right. Think for yourself and try to understand what's really going on.
Don't just jump on the bandwagon because it sounds cool or everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. Take your time and learn about it first.
So we've talked about the Magnificent Seven, but it makes me wonder...
What's that?
Who's next? What companies or what technologies are going to come along and shake things up in the future?
That's a good question, and it's a question that I think about a lot. Yeah. I mean, things change so fast in the tech world. What's brand new today could be old news tomorrow.
So who will be the next big tech giant? What new innovations are going to come along and disrupt everything?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe someone listening to this right now will be the one to come up with the next big thing.
Yeah, maybe our listener will invent some new technology that changes the world.
You never know.
So to everyone listening out there, we'll leave you with this thought. Keep your eyes open and keep learning.
Yeah, stay curious.
The tech world is always changing.
Yeah.
And there are so many opportunities out there if you're willing to put in the time and effort.
Absolutely. And if you have any thoughts about today's deep dive, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, connect with us on social media. We love talking about this stuff.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.